Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and I want to thank all of you who've been joining us throughout the years. It's always good to know that you're out there, especially these weekends where there's so much going on. I'm sure most of you are preparing for the holidays, and good. And make sure you're safe. Make sure you protect yourself. Try to, be careful. There's still a lot of COVID out there and a lot of influenza, and just try to take care of yourself and your family. There's a lot of interesting news out there, especially economic news, and it's mixed. Some of it is very positive for Mexico, and some is negative, considering that Mexico's part of this, of the world, of the globalized economy, and there's just a lot of concerns in terms of what could be potentially be happening in the United States, what could happen with China, what will happen with the war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues, the war continues, and there just doesn't seem to be any end, and all of this affects Mexico. But despite all these factors, the Mexican peso continues to do extremely well. That's why I really appreciate today's guest. He's joined us in the past. We haven't had the opportunity to talk to him for some time now, but I'm glad he's back. Manuel Molano, he's a professor at the Tec de Monterrey. He's a very well-known economic analyst, and he's joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ana Maria. Great to be here again. Yes, it's kind of interesting to see how well the peso has performed over the last few months. Not a usual thing, but I guess we're seeing some of the decoupling of the American-Chinese economies working in favor of our currency, and also it's become a hot commodity. It's being traded like crazy all over the world. So it's a good proxy for the developing markets of the Western hemisphere. So I think that that is a good explanation. Also, the relative weakness of the U.S. dollar might play a role too.
But what, I mean, let's talk about this. Clearly, there has to be a reason why that there is trust in the Mexican peso as a currency. There's trust in the Mexican government as an economy. I mean, why is there this interest, and why are they using the Mexican peso for trading, for investing?
Well, I guess that I had the same question. I asked some of my friends who are much more closely involved with foreign currencies trading and the financial sector, and what they said is that the financial sector is very short-term oriented, and we have good numbers in terms of our general macroeconomic state. We haven't acquired as much debt as other countries abroad, and our primary emission of new currency is quite good, and we've accumulated a sound amount of international reserves, and we don't seem to be carrying an unsustainable deficit. So that's the reason why the peso is strong. Of course, when you scratch beneath the surface of these macro variables, you find out that there are some real issues. The fact that we are attractive for manufacturing that is coming back from China into the hemisphere due to nearshoring concerns, or the new just in time, which is just in case. The production chains want to be diversified geographically, but when you scratch a little bit under the surface of these numbers, you find that new manufacturing is going to have trouble in finding electricity and energy in Mexico. You find that governance is lacking. You will find that there is rampant violence. I mean, I guess we still have our share of problems, but still the financial sectors in the world seem to be assessing us as a very good bet.
Isn't it interesting that due to the crisis, this worldwide crisis, in part precipitated by COVID-19 pandemic, but also because of Russia's decision to invade Ukraine, that Mexico can benefit from all of this? I guess the question is the Mexican government taking sufficient steps to make sure that this is that Mexico becomes a permanent solution for investors?
Well, I don't think so. I've been quite skeptical of Mexican policy for a while now. But I think that we are positioned in a good place. Maybe this is testimony to how good were the reforms of the 90s and NAFTA, and then US, Mexico, Canada trade agreement. I guess we were able to build confidence over the years. I guess that the fact that we're in a region that is free of war right now is also playing a role. I guess that the China situation is especially playing a role. We don't know if we are benefited 100%. We could be profiting from the newly found authoritarianism in China, the new Xi Jinping totalitarian model.
Right.
But we are benefiting, and the inflows of remittances have been strong. This is, of course, not a reason to be proud. This is testimony also of the weakness of the Mexican labor market, and how we started sending immigrants again to the U.S., which was a phenomenon that had largely receded over the years, but in recent years we've increased that. But the American market, the American labor market, is producing resources for those families. The fact that there are serious shortages of labor in many states of the United States is also the reason why we've had a very strong currency. We are in a very good position payments wise.
So let me ask you this: with what we know right now, what would force a devaluation of the Mexican peso?
Well, we can't speak of a devaluation like we did in the 1990s, because back in the day we were in a fixed regime, in a fixed exchange rate regime, where the government and the central bank worked together and announced the exchange rate policy. They would keep it in a level or in a range where they felt would be beneficial for both imports and exports and the competitiveness of the economy. That made it easy for currency speculators to speculate against the peso and the pound. We were not the only country who had this kind of regime back in the day. Right, we have a regime that we call dirty flotation. It's not actually a free trade flotation because the central bank intervenes from time to time, but the government intervenes from time to time, of course, by buying and selling its own debt. But in the end, this has been beneficial because we are not trying to make public what our exchange rate will be over the next few months or years.
Right.
We just let it slide. So the market was able to adjust. And I guess that all the Trump bashing during the Trump administration had a negative effect on the exchange rate, and now we are coming back. It was proven that we were not a risk to the American economy, as Mr. Trump and his acolytes said, and all the contrary, with being a positive impulse for the North American economy. So again, I think this is testimony that the reforms that we've made over the last 30 years have been quite beneficial for the economy. Of course, our president AMLO hates those 30 years. He really dislikes what happened in those years, but he is benefiting from them because the policies were very good, and that's why we're harvesting such a strong currency. Maybe it will be hurtful if we keep appreciating. I'm glad that it appreciated slightly over the last few days, because if we have too strong a currency, it can hurt exports, and as you know, that's a very important source of revenue for both companies and the government. But I think that that's positive news.
Well, I just I have to go to commercial break, but I want to ask you one last question. Do you think what is the peso going to look like next year?
Well, it's hard to know. But I think that it will continue to be strong again, because our monetary policy hasn't been as lax as the American monetary policy. I guess that is showing Banco de Mexico that it has some leverage, that it has some space for monetary policy. And the recent rate hikes by the Fed were not replicated in intensity by Banco de Mexico. So I expect it to remain pretty much the same. Of course, if the American economy goes into a recession, then probably what we're going to be seeing is new exchange rate movements between the euro, the dollar, and of course the peso and all the other world currencies.
Well, 2023 is around the corner, so hopefully you and I will have a chance to speak frequently to try to figure out and understand what's happening. Thank you so much for joining us, Manuel Molano. He is a professor at Tec de Monterrey. He's an expert analyst. I always enjoy talking to him. I really appreciate you joining us here on Living in Mexico.
You're welcome, Ana Maria.
Thank you. Let's go to commercial break. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico. Don't go away. I'll be right back.